Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jnanamulam Guru Murti Pujamulam Guru Padam Mantramulam Guru Vakyam Mokshamalam Guru Kripa Naham Karta Prabhuji Karta Maha Prabhuji Karta Hi Keva Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This morning we are going a little bit to continue the topic which we had 2 days ago. Do you remember what it was? It was only 3 words. Accept, understand, and give. 3 principles which can change our life, truly. And what we said, where we have to start is ourselves. Accepting ourselves. Accepting ourselves as we are. But do we know how we are? That's a problem. We can only accept ourselves when we know how we are. And that already is the first step. The honesty. Do we really want to know how we are? Because only when we know how we are, then we can find the point from which to start. So honesty, that is a starting point. I want really to know how I am. As I said, in meditation, self-inquiry meditation has 2 steps. The first is, how am I? And then only we can come to the real meditation, who am I? What is my true nature? How am I is more practical, is more psychological, but very, very important. And then also we can show ourselves to others as we are, but first we must know how we are. About this story from Tibet. There was a yogi, he was an advanced yogi, really seriously meditating, and he was living in a cave in the Himalaya. He was not the first one. Generations of yogis had meditated there and got their enlightenment there. So there was already a small wooden door, there was from stone a small altar, there was a fireplace, a sleeping place and so on. So there he lived completely alone. And because he was an advanced yogi, one day with his inner vision he saw that a group of people from the village were on the way to him, to visit him. They brought some food for him, some prasad, and of course they had also some desires to get blessing, they had prayers. Then he was looking around in his hut, in his cave, and thought, that's actually very dirty here. I should a little bit prepare for that. In fact, he had neglected his altar since months. It was over and over with dirt. The flowers were months old. So he nicely started to clean everything. And he went out, collected some fresh fruit, some fresh flowers and leaves, decorated the altar nicely. And after an hour of work, he was looking around and said, oh, that's nice. So now they can come. And then came the moment of truth. And you were thinking, what are you actually doing? Always you live here in this dirt. And now when you know that people are coming, then you want to pretend, oh, I'm the nice yogi, look my beautiful altar. That's a lie. Then he took a handful of dirt and dust and threw it on the altar. That it looked quite like before, dirt. And then he said, so now they can come. This story went around in Tibet. And years later, when it came to an enlightened saint, he said This handful of dust thrown on the altar was the greatest offering ever made. Because with this handful of dust, he offered his ego to show himself as he really is. So it takes courage, this first step. How I am, to see the reality. And today we will come to a very sensitive point because we all are here for healing purpose. I also am a patient. I'm a cancer patient. So we all are here because we have some disease. So now let us come to this point. To accept our body, to accept our diseases. That's a very important point in our healing. To accept our body. That means also to accept the changes of our body. Are we really willing to do that? How much we are hiding, somehow playing roles, decorating our body. No? The ladies, for example, with some nice makeup and so. You make something up, but it's not you. It's something unreal. And when you are crying, then one sees the reality. It's all flowing down. And then when you grow older, to see the reality. For example, my hair is not only more nice, but it is gray. Maybe in the end it is white. And then, I don't know how it's here, but in Europe, and the people all start coloring their hair. Pretending they are still young, but they are not. That means you don't have the courage to accept the reality, I am growing older. What is behind that? The fear to die. So again, we escape from reality. I was brought up as a Christian. And in the age of, I think, 13 or maybe 14 years, then I had a ceremony called confirmation. And that we would choose one saying from the Holy Bible. And I remember very well which one I chose. Because the priest didn't want to give it to me, but I was fighting for that. This saying was, "Oh Lord, let us never forget that we have to die so that we become wise." When we accept our reality, the reality that this body is not permanent, it is impermanent, and definitely what is born has to die one day, then we start looking on the reality, what is really important. What is the eternal behind this mortal world? That actually brings us on the spiritual path. When we are coloring our hair, when we have fear to accept the mortality, then we are escaping from that, losing one chance. Accepting our body, and now accepting the signs which our body is giving us, the diseases. How is our normal approach to diseases? Disease is a problem. Problem should be removed. You see usually our disease like an enemy which we want to kill. The question is which medicine, which therapy is the best killer for this problem which I have, for the disease. No. That is not the right approach. The disease is not the problem. The disease wants to tell us something. Basically, the first step is try to accept your disease as a friend who wants to tell you something. How to understand? I give an example. You are driving in the night with a car, and suddenly you get irritated because in the car some blue light is going on. So, oh, that's disturbing me. So you unscrew it. Okay, problem is solved. The blue light is not anymore there. And you continue driving. But after 100 kilometers, your car breaks down. Why? Because the blue light was an indication that you don't have any more oil in the motor. If you had accepted the message of the blue light and said, oh, thank you, you gave me information, I must now put some oil in the motor, there would be no problem. And the blue light would automatically disappear. Because you understood the message, you accepted it. But when you don't accept it, then you run into problems. So in the same way, we should actually see our disease as a friend who wants to tell me something about myself. Again, a good starting point to work on ourselves. We are here for self-improvement. And in fact, every disease, like every dream, has a certain message, only we must a little bit look deeper how to understand this message. Dreams, for example, are not on the logical level, they are more on the emotional level. Only then we can understand dreams. Disease, we can often already with a language we can understand it. We speak about diseases in a way that often we can already understand. Let's take example. For example, with the looking, the eyes. Some of us are nearsighted, some of us are farsighted. So what is near? That is me. That means who is nearsighted, maybe, it's only a hint, maybe too much self-centered. And who is far-sighted, looks always to the others, but escapes somehow from himself. It should be both, it should be in the center. Another example is the digestion. Some have constipation, some have diarrhea. So what does it mean? Constipation means you want to hold. Something goes in and you don't want to let it out. You cannot let go, you cannot give. Diarrhea means something wants to come in but you cannot accept it. It goes immediately out. And because I said it's important honesty, I will be honest to you and speak about myself. I had diarrhea. You see, when I became a Swami, then my master sent me to Rajasthan, our ashrams. So I'm from Germany. That was quite some cultural shock for me. And it was hot, 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 much hotter than here. And I was suffering. And the food and all this cultural surrounding, it was really not easy for me. And I couldn't accept. We are the topic, accept, understand and give. I could not accept. What was a symptom which I produced, my body produced? Diarrhea. Not just a little bit, but for weeks. I had strong diarrhea for weeks. And everyone knew about that. Our master came. He knew about that. He gave even a lecture about that. You have it on video. It's so funny. I had it for weeks, strong diarrhea, because I couldn't accept. So that's my own reality, my own truth. And only when I started a little bit more to accept it, then the diarrhea finally stopped. Even, it was a little bit funny, one day my master took over my diarrhea. You know, a master can do that. He can take over your karma. Then he was suddenly running. And the people were laughing, what's going on? It's our master. So he took over my diarrhea. So that's actually an important hint. A master can take over your problems, your diseases. And he will not take in the full form, but only maybe 5% or 1%. But still, a master has many disciples. When he takes over problems for many disciples, in the end, this can become for him, for his physical body, a problem. Therefore, when we pray for help, it is not advisable to pray directly to Gurudev, but pray to Ishtadev. Ishtadev, who is not anymore in physical form, there is no problem. He can give you blessing, he can help you. Gurudev can also give you blessing and help you, but in a way that maybe in the end it becomes for his physical body a problem. So better to pray to Ishtadev in case of healing request. What is the reason for our problems, for our diseases? It is two, karma and karma. Karma in the sense of karma which we produce in this life. Recently, when we know that, it's called kriyaman karma, the actual karma, the karma from this life. And this we can inquire, we can look on that, what we did, how it developed, what was my lifestyle, how it came into existence, and we can work on that. The other karma, the old karma, pralabdha karma, or in English we would say destiny, there's a problem that usually we don't remember our last lives. So the karma from last lives comes to us in the destiny, and we experience that, and that also can cause diseases. But in this case, we are a little bit helpless, because usually we don't know what was in last life, what kind of karma I experienced now. We can only indirectly make suggestions, maybe it must have been something like this and this, so that as a result I have now this karma. But the disease always gives us an indication in which direction to look, in which direction to work. I gave the example already with the eyes, I gave the example with the digestion. For example, the skin. Many young people in the puberty, they have this, we call in Europe acne, I don't know, you know this, when you have the points here on the skin, especially in the face. And many young people look then really ugly. What is that when you look at that? The skin is the only part which we show to others. They cannot see my lungs, my bones, my heart, nothing. Only the skin is visible to others. That means when my skin is ugly, it says, it gives this signal to others, I am ugly, don't come to me. So that means in the time of puberty, young people often are afraid of contact with the other sex, and indirectly it shows through the skin. And when they overcome this fear, when they grow up, then this automatically disappears. So now I gave several examples of not so serious, but one more maybe, allergy. I had a talk here some days ago with one of our patients, and he said, my problem is allergy. And I told him, allergy is your friend. Look exactly what allergy you have, against what you are allergic. That is the message. Let us take example. Very common is pollen allergy. What is pollen in the nature for the plants? It is there to continue the life. It is equivalent on human life with the sexuality. So look on that point. Or you have dust allergy, or you have cat allergy, or you have this or that. Look on that point. What kind of allergy do you have, against what you have this overreaction, and that is the point on which you have to work. So now, after looking at many minor problems, now I will go in medias res. Also, strong diseases, life-threatening diseases like cancer, the same approach. Cancer is a disease which is leading to the death. I am a cancer patient. And again, I will speak personally about myself to give you an example. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. They made biopsy and said it is prostate cancer. It is not very, it's a very small, not very aggressive, so you can live many years with it, but it is cancer. Then I made self-inquiry. I mean, on one hand, my Gurudev gave me advice to drink certain juices, which I did. And that was, I think, one part of the helping. But the other part was, I sat down, made self-inquiry with myself. What is my problem? Where I have produced this disease? Okay. When we say disease is result of karma, that means karma we have produced. We produce our diseases. We have to take over the responsibility. We are the one who produces this, we are the one who can remove it when we work on that point. So now I was thinking, how I have produced my cancer. And I found the answer. I tell you now what my life situation. I'm living in Czech Republic in a big ashram there. And it's very nice in the nature. We have everyday satsang. It's very nice. But for me, a little bit problem because Czech language I really cannot learn. It's too difficult. And the people mostly are Czech people, also they speak among themselves all the time, so I'm a little bit like an outsider. Though I'm living already years there, I'm not actually so happy there. So that's why I developed Plan A and Plan B. Plan A is the present situation, because my duty is to travel around in Europe, give lectures, workshops, satsang. So this is very central. So I say, as long as I can travel, it is good. I accept it. This is Plan A. But when I cannot travel anymore, because I'm not a youngster, I'm approaching the 70s. So when I cannot travel anymore, then I would like to go somewhere else. This I call Plan B. But I didn't find a proper Plan B, where to go. And then one day, and that was a problem, I developed a Plan C. I said, wait, the best would be if in the middle of your activities, suddenly you fall down dead. Then you don't need any Plan B anymore. And with this thought, I invited the cancer. That was my mental mistake. Negative thinking produce the thoughts is a fine level, and then it comes down to the physical level, our gross level. Our body expresses our fine level. So, this is the way how I produced my cancer, and then I said, you are stupid. So I canceled Plan C, and when a year later I came to the same doctor, and he measured, my PSA value, which is usually up till 4 is okay, had just gone up to 7, and now it was down to 3. That means that the cancer is no real problem anymore. That one. Now I have another one. And that other one is still work in progress, because of course, obviously, this is cancer from previous life, like Gurudev said. That is old karma, and that's why it's a little bit more difficult to work on that. So that's why I'm here. These negative thinking, negative thoughts about us, about others, this is actually the root reason for many diseases. So it's just an inspiration maybe that you yourself can inquire about your life, about your thinking, about your emotions. And now for the end I will tell you one true story about one old lady from Japan. She had been diagnosed already several times with cancer. And she had been operated several times. But every time it came back, since about maybe 30 years. Now she had grown quite old. And again there was cancer. And the doctor said, sorry, now in your age, in your health condition, we cannot advise the surgery anymore, because most probably it will be a surgery to the best. You have little chance to survive the surgery, so we advise not to do it. And she said, no, it's my only chance, I want it, you must do it. And the doctor said, okay, if you insist, then we'll do it. The day before the surgery, one doctor came and just took time, sat at her bed and talked with her. And let her talk about her life. It was a little bit like, you know, the priest comes like last talk. Right? So he gave her time, he gave her patience to listen what she had to tell about her life. She was telling many things that she remembered from her life in a very neutral, somehow relaxed way. But suddenly there came one point where came emotions. And she really got upset. And that was when she remembered that 30 years ago, she had been quite rich at that time, living in a house with servants, and she had nice cutlery from silver, you know, fork and spoons and this, from silver. So quite precious. living on a high lifestyle. And then one day, all this silver was stolen. And she never found out who it was. So she was sure it must be one of my servants, but she never could find out who it was. And she got really angry when she remembered that. And then the doctor said, but wait, it is 30 years ago. I think at least now you should forgive it. And then she got even more angry and said, never I will forgive it. Rather I will die than ever forgive it. Listen. Rather I will die than ever forgive it. The doctor understood what she said. He got up, took the coat he had, and went to the door. And now she was irritated. Doctor, why are you suddenly leaving? Because you said you want to die. I cannot help you. No, you just said it. Rather I will die than ever forgive it. So this confrontation with herself, like a mirror, giving back what she just said, she realized what she did 30 years, holding on to this anger, to this not forgiving, to this hatred, this aggression, this negative energy. That was the reason of her cancer. And in a second she realized it. It was a complete breakdown. She broke out into tears. And she realized in a second what she did with herself through 30 years. Then of course the doctor came back, comforted her. And when she had calmed down, he said, okay, tomorrow morning, before we do the surgery, we will make an X-ray again. What was the result? Next morning, when they made the X-ray, the result was that the cancer was gone back already so far that the surgery was not anymore necessary. What 30 years couldn't be healed could be healed in a second, when only we realize our own reality. In this case, forgiving. Accept, understand, and give. And one important kind of giving is forgiving. If we cannot forgive, in the end, we are suffering. We are keeping this negative energy in us. And this may lead even to strong diseases. Forgiving is a great quality. In the Holy Bible is written, when Jesus was put on the cross, he was praying to God, Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they are doing. So I hope this is 3 words I could give you some inspiration to look into your reality and to your life. Accept, understand, and give. Thank you.
Shanti Mantra.